welcome to What's in Your iPad. We got a special guest today. Vortex is in the building. Vortex, shout yourself out. Tell everyone where you're from. I'm sure most of our listeners know where you're from, but shout your shit out.
Absolutely. Yeah. So first of all, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. I've been following all of you guys for a long time now, like years pretty much. So really appreciate it. Definitely humbled to be here, and really appreciate it. Like the content that you guys create every single week really is a big part of my content appetite that I like to consume every week. So when it comes to music and music production, so really appreciate that. And then for me personally, I go by the pseudonym Vortex, and I created a company called Mpcro, and it's a YouTube channel that is essentially creating resources and information for mobile music producers. So pretty much anybody who's producing music on your iPhone or iPad, we're trying to help you out, trying to get you started, trying to get you some resources, trying to get you some samples, and try to do giveaways and all that good stuff to try to be able to help both new and professional, both novice and professional producers out.
Yes, sir. And we're delighted to have you.
Thank you so much.
And we dropped the episode called the investing episode, and Vortex hit me ASAP and was like, yo, we got to talk. We got to talk. And he was super hyped and excited. And I was like, let's do it. So Vortex, tell us what's up with the investing episode that sparked you.
Yeah, for sure. So really, there was just first of all, you guys put the big Bitcoin logo on the actual thumbnail. So right away, I was like, oh my God, okay, what's going on here? What are you guys talking about? So I had to open up the video. Of course, I was going to watch it anyway, but man, within the first 15 seconds, I think I messaged you before we finished watching the entire episode because of that Bitcoin logo that you threw on there. So as soon as you did that, that definitely got me excited, because essentially I've been doing music production now for since 2013 or so. I've been studying music production since about 2013. So it was only in 2013 when I actually learned like what a pluck was and what an 808 was and so on, right? So it's been a few years, but I'm still consider myself learning, of course, and consider myself new. So but during that time, I was also a software development by trade. That was my day job. I was a software developer, programming and specializing in web application development and C# for about 15 years there. And that what happened was around 2012, 2013, what came across my purview on the Slashdot blog, which is a blog for programming geeks that you guys probably don't know about. Bitcoin came across that. And that's when I first discovered it, around 2012, 2013. And so I got really I went down the rabbit hole, as we like to say, in the Bitcoin space, and really got excited about what this technology can do for not just your average day person, but just humanity in general, what this can actually do. Because once you understand what it's actually fighting, then you can really understand its importance. And so we can, of course, get into that later. But essentially, when you guys dropped that episode, that definitely got me excited, because I have been into Bitcoin now for about since 2012, 2013, right around the same time actually that I got into music production. It was right around the same time, and I've been doing a podcast since 2015 through 2020, and I recently quit that podcast about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies to pursue my dreams of music, to create a company in the music space, in the music business. So that's where I come from there. So I really am into Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin's my first, Bitcoin is like my first child, my first love. Got to have that. But then in addition to that, music is something that's always been in my family. I'm actually a third generation musician. So both my dad, my grandpa played musical instruments, the guitar and piano, and sang. So it was always going to be, the destiny was always going to put me and music together. But until that time, I really did study Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And so what I thought was I could maybe help you guys out by answering some of your guys' questions and maybe diving into a couple of specific topics relating to music and Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and why really it is so important, and why I think everybody needs to start paying attention to it.
Right. First off, because I was one of the early people too, like on Bitcoin, but I didn't take it that serious. I didn't have the time, so I passed it off. Been listening, research everything but figure it out, find it out, because this is gonna be big, and it turned out big. Needless to say,
it's just beginning.
Yeah, it is, right. And needless to say, he had his hands on like 6 and fucked it up, but because he didn't believe in it. And now look at all this
I got a story
time.
for you. I got a story for you later too.
Tell it. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, first of all, everybody in Bitcoin wishes they had more Bitcoin. Okay. First of all, everybody's been in Bitcoin for any amount of time, especially years like I have, wishes that they should have sold their damn house, should have sold the car, should have sold the dog, should have sold everything for Bitcoin. But unfortunately, that's not, how it was. So I was a software developer.
No.
Yeah. I was just a software developer, just doing my my 9 to 5 there. I didn't really have a whole lot of money to invest. So I basically, just put in what I could and stuff like that. But essentially, a quick story for that was I first was introduced with to Bitcoin from that Silk Road, or from that article on Slashdot that was talking about Silk Road, which was, if you don't know, a dark market website where you could purchase illicit goods with Bitcoin. So, pretty much every kind of drug you could ever think of.
Yeah.
You can purchase on there. And so, that just fascinated me that anything like that was actually possible. So I went through 66 coins on Silk Road buying just medical marijuana.
Man,
66 coins before I ever knew what Bitcoin was. This was back when Bitcoin was $25 a coin. So, an eighth was like 2.5 coins. And so this was way back in the day when we had to buy Bitcoin like with a red phone and you had to like transfer money to over the top. It was just nuts. It was nuts. So, but yeah, so that's a bit of a story there. And everybody like has gone through. I have friends that have spent 30 coins on a television. I got friends that spent 8 coins on a sandwich in 2013.
Man.
We just didn't know.
Yeah.
We hoped, but we didn't really know. And if you guys got any questions, I'll be happy to answer it. But I can tell you where this thing is headed as well.
Oh yeah, I definitely believe it's headed somewhere big. But I'm at the stage of now that I'm getting into it, because I still don't know shit. Still don't. But I've been for the last few months just putting money in when it's low. Like I've been studying the graph. So, yes. When it goes to a high, I have certain numbers, I pull it out and I keep the profit and then I wait for it to drop again. But there's so much more to Bitcoin. I know that.
Sure. So
and I also have a whole other account where I just keep some Bitcoin. I'm not even looking to make it. I'm just going to leave it there because I believe in another 5 to 10 years, that shit will be crazy.
Absolutely. And so absolutely. So you're pretty much doing it right. What you're kind of doing is a little bit day trading and then a little bit high yield savings account. So what I kind of want to tell everybody is that, like Bry said last episode, really you want to treat it for the average person like a high yield savings account. You essentially just put a little bit in every week or every month, and maybe one less movie, maybe one less pack of cigarettes, maybe one less one less going out to eat, and you just put that into Bitcoin every month, every week of every month. And I assure you that you will be able to retire before all of your friends if you just do that for a few years. And so essentially that's kind of how the stock market used to be. That's how banks used to be able to put your money in a bank and earn interest off that. But of course that's no longer the case. The system as it is right now is pretty broken, and it officially broke March of last year, March of 2020, the system officially broke because essentially it no longer was like it was for the last 30 years since the 80s, where you could rely on bond markets, you could rely on the stock market for certain things, you could rely on interest rates. Everything was relatively normal. But now we're in a negative interest rates, as Brian was talking about last episode, where you have to pay the banks for the privilege of keeping your money in the bank. And what that does is that stimulates spending and destroys saving. And so not only are they, paying more money to be able to destroy your savings in general, but they're also now using negative interest rates to assure that the average person is not able to save. And so that's why I think it's so important to remind people to treat Bitcoin like a high yield savings account where you actually get some yield, you actually get some profits, you actually get some money for storing your coin, for storing your value in Bitcoin. And really that's the main value proposition for Bitcoin, is this long-term store of value. Because up until before Bitcoin, only billionaires were able to do some of the things that Bitcoin allows you to do, like store your money for generations, like store your money with no third-party counterparty risk, like store your money where nobody could seize it or steal it. So really this is now brought down to the average to everyday person, where you could actually, for your hard work, store your hard work now in a medium, in something like financial energy in this network that is Bitcoin. You could store that financial energy now for the entirety of for hopefully for the rest of humankind. So you could literally, for your children, for your children's children, for your children's children's children, now can have and store value, and all the hard work that they are going to put into this world, you can actually now benefit from that within a real tangible way that is transferable across generations. And that is just super important for building something that we call generational wealth, or something that you might have heard that term before from financial advisors. That is like that's the big game. That's the big idea, is to generate this wealth. Because essentially, if you're not making money while you're sleeping, if you do not make money while you sleep, you essentially will be working for the rest of your life. And it used to be really easy to make money in your sleep. You could put money in a bank, you could put money in the stock market pretty easily in a big company like IBM that you trust and work for 30, 40, 50 years for, then get a pension for. But now the system's broken. It's gone. It's wasted. The dollar is melting. So let's say, the same problem that I have is the same problem that a billionaire now has, or a mini multi-hundred millionaire. I have a couple $100s in the bank. They have a couple $100 million in the bank. But the problem is the same, where our cash, our money is literally melting away like an ice cube at 20% per year. Now, for me, $100, that's only $20 a year. Not so much for me, not a big deal for me, but for the average, but for like even, but it's still an average deal, because you can see that if you have like a couple thousand, that's still like, if you have 1,000 in your account, that's 20 to 200, basically $20 gone every single year. So essentially now you no longer can save. So with Bitcoin, you can now have this savings account where you can store your money, you can store your wealth. And it's just so important, especially as entrepreneurs, as we all are, here trying to work hard to build something for the community, to build something that people can actually use and get value from. We need to be able to store our value that we create from that as well. And so, with Bitcoin, that's really the big value position, is being able to save, not only save your money, but save your money and have it actually appreciate for
Right.
a long time to come, because we're very, very early days right now. We're very, very early. Bitcoin's main value proposition is that store of value, digital gold. Well, the market cap of gold is 7 trillion, roughly 7 trillion right now. That puts every Bitcoin at $350,000 a coin. And that's just for gold. Bitcoin is going to do many more things than just gold, than take over gold. It's going to take over gold. It's going to take over corporate treasury accounts. It's going to take over remittance. It's going to take over, savings, essentially store value. It's going to take over the bond market. It's going to take over trillions of dollars of wealth in essentially over time, because it is cheaper, better, faster. It's a better platform. So essentially, I know you might feel that it's late in the game. Everybody's looking at me like Vortex, you're crazy. Like it's 50,000.
Nah, I don't think so. I think it's going to go high.
But I thought I was late in 2013. There's people that were late in 2017. You are not late, because Bitcoin has so much more wealth to go. On a big old S curve like this, we're right at the knee. We're right at the knee, right before it goes, all the way up over the next decade, over the next 10 years. And essentially, Bitcoin is solving a very, very important problem. And that is the problem of value, the problem of creating value and storing value without a human or third-party intervention. Because every single time we let humans touch the money, every time, in every civilization throughout hundreds of years, go back thousands of years, every time from Rome to whenever, when we let the humans touch the money, they chip away at it, they start stealing it, and they start stealing the people's money.
I love the way you just said that. Like
every time.
He said that shit like we not human in this room. I like that.
Every time we let the humans touch the money, man. Every time they screw up.
I get it. But let me ask you a question, because I don't know how true this is. I'm like not knowledgeable at all, but someone had told me that a few years ago, Bitcoin dropped like to zero. Is that true? Like in seconds, and it was gone for a minute. Like,
so early days, when Bitcoin was around $1, maybe $12, it was trading kind of pretty crazy, because there was only one single exchange on the entire planet that held 90% of all the Bitcoin value that people used to trade Bitcoin for. And that was called Mpcx. And for just a little bit of a short time back in, I think it was 2011, Bitcoin did in fact drop from like $11 down to pretty much like $1, like a few cents. And so for a few seconds, you could pick up Bitcoin for about a penny per Bitcoin for just a few seconds, and then it went back up to $15 the next day.
That's not too bad of a gap. The way they explained it to me, it was way more than $11.
Well, so let me tell you how Bitcoin works. Because Bitcoin works in cycles. It grows in cycles. So every 4 years is a cycle. And what we're in the cycle right now is we're in the bull market. So let me tell you how it works. So Bitcoin will start with a bull market. Bitcoin goes up in the bull market, right? We go up, then we exhaust the buyers, and we start getting more sellers. So it's correct. So then it goes correct for about a bear market for about a year or two, and then we start capitulating. We go in sideways, and then so we rebuild, reaccumulate. All the whales rebuild, reaccumulate, and then we go up again. And the reason why we go up again and even higher than before is because of this thing called the halving. Every 4 years, Bitcoin, the amount of Bitcoin that gets produced every day gets cut in half, making it more valuable, more scarce, because it's making it more scarce, which makes it more valuable. So because of these cycles, Bitcoin has gone up and down in dramatic fashion. So for example, we went up to $1,200, then went back down to $2. We went up to $20,000, went back down to $3. So it's very volatile because it's so early. The world is still figuring out what Bitcoin is. But after March of 2020, last year, when the system broke and almost every corporation realized that they need to have their treasuries and their money in Bitcoin, we have now crossed a threshold where Bitcoin is in a new phase. And this new phase is made up of huge people. This new phase is made up of billionaires, wealth managers, CEOs, family offices, large, from everything from a small company to a large company. Bitcoin is now people realizing they need money in Bitcoin because if you store it in the dollar, it's a melting ice cube. So now in this new phase, Bitcoin probably won't drop quite as much, but we've still seen in this bull market, when Bitcoin went up to 50K, we've still seen 30% drops. 28 to 30% drops. So we've still seen it go up and then, correct 30% or so. Now, on the past, we've seen 50, 60, 70% drops. That's the question on everybody's mind. Are we going to have that again in this cycle after this? Right. That's the question. And in my mind, personally, I think we're in something called a super cycle that we've never seen before. And I think that the bear market, when it comes, is going to be very short. Maybe a few months, 6 months, and then we're going to start going right back up again because there's just so much value. And now the world is figuring it out.
So let me ask you a question. So I've seen lately that a lot of like big banks and corporations they're shifting to create their own cryptocurrency. What effect does that have? Like is it basically the same where they trying to have something where it's like a value keeper as well?
There's two things to that. So there's one thing where there's companies that are trying to create their own coin, right? They're trying to create their own token because it's like printing your own money. So a lot of people are like, that sounds pretty good. So a lot of companies are, creating their own token. Now there's a lot of shady companies that are doing this, but then there's some regular companies that are doing it the right way and are treating it kind of like gift points or, miles. Like airplane miles. Yeah. So they're treating it more of like an actual token instead of, hey, buy my token and you'll get rich when it appreciates like Bitcoin did. They're saying, no, this is part of a greater system where you can earn some of these tokens when you purchase this and get a deal. And, you could use these tokens for something, maybe to cash in for another object, right? Another product. So that's okay. That's cool. But then you got the shady people that are making their own cryptocurrencies, claiming they're better than Bitcoin, claiming they're better than Ethereum, claiming they're the next big thing. And look at my coin. It's only $1, but look, Bitcoin was only $1 too. And now look where it is. So where do you think my coin's going to go? And so, there's a lot of that, unfortunately. And that we really saw the height of that in 2017. It's not happening so much anymore. It's more legit companies that are actually creating tokens now. But you still got to watch out for that craziness. Now, the second part of that is corporations in general. When I keep saying like corporations. So what I mean by that is large corporations have something called the treasury. And what this is the amount of money that sits on their balance sheet that they can use to spend. And so that's basically like profits, essentially. And so what happens is there's about $3-4 trillion in corporate treasuries right now on Wall Street in the United States, roughly. So there's a lot of capital that companies are holding. For example, Apple has like billions and like hundreds of billions in capital. But so there's roughly around 3 or 4 trillion. Now, all of that money is, again, a melting ice cube. We have trillions of dollars now. That's a melting ice cube as of March of last year.
Okay.
Because as of March of last year, everybody was like, oh, only 2% inflation. I can deal with that. That's okay. I'll put some money in the markets. I'll figure it out. I'll get back that 2%. Now we are living in a world with negative interest rates and 20+% asset inflation. Whoops. Literally, like, this is crazy, guys. This is unheard of. This is unprecedented territory that you've never seen before when we're living in a 20+% asset inflation time. And that's only going to get worse over the next 10 years as they continue to approve more and more $2 trillion deals and print more trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. We've printed more money in 2020 than we did in the last decade. And we printed more in the last decade than we've did ever in history, in United States history. So it's getting really bad. It's ramping up. Everybody could turn their eye before. Everybody was, all the rich, from the rich to the poor, everybody was like, no, everything's pretty good. United States is good. Dollar's good. Everybody needs a dollar. Woo-ha. Everything was good. But as of March of last year, when the pandemic hit, the cards that was inevitably gonna fall down anyway, fell down because of the way that the system was going for the past 30 years on its trajectory. So now it's a new world. After March of last year, we were in a new world where everybody needs Bitcoin. You need Bitcoin just to be able to save your money so that it doesn't get printed away. You need it for that, but you also need it because it's the internet of money. So it's like in the 90s when you're like, do I need a website? Maybe. Now it's like, well, I need a website, I need a social media, I need a text, I need everything, right? So with Bitcoin, it's like, do I need a Bitcoin wallet right now? Well, no, I need Bitcoin integration into my company. I need to be able to create some kind of token and be able, there's going to be all these things we can't predict that you're going to need Bitcoin for. But everybody just needs it right now for sure, just to save their own money so it doesn't get melted away like an ice cube.
That's crazy.
Now, where does the average person start with a Bitcoin wallet if they don't know?
Sure. So where you want to start, there's a couple different places to start. One of the places I recommend is Coinbase.com because they're federally insured. So it's just like a bank. So when you buy Bitcoin at there, you're federally insured up to $100,000.
Now I'm glad you said that because I read an article the other day. I was telling Cheez, and it said Coinbase is FDIC, but it said, and I say that to say that, not everything on the internet you read is 100% true. Sure. You have to research, but it was just an article at the top of the page in my search that I happened to notice that said everything is FDIC on there except for your crypto, your Bitcoin, basically. And I was like, what? That doesn't even...
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. So basically, like what Bitcoin is, when you get into Bitcoin, there's going to be different levels and layers that you're going to go through. So definitely the top layer is like a Coinbase.com or a Cash App to be able to buy and store your Bitcoin. So right. You're going to be completely secure there, even if it's not FDIC. There's definitely parts of it that is insured that you're going to be okay for, and especially anything under $10,000. You're definitely okay. But anything once you start to get over 100,000, then what you do is you use a third party that are now coming online to help you secure your Bitcoin. So there's something called CASA, CASA, that will actually, for a fee per year, help you hold one of the keys that open up and unlock your Bitcoin for you, so that you can have not just store stuff just yourself and be on your own and be out of luck if something goes wrong. You can actually have your hand held a little bit with something like CASA, and that's when you want that's the upper echelon levels. That's like $10,000 a year. You got to have $100,000 plus a Bitcoin to do something like that. But that's where you could go. But just for the average person, you just need Coinbase or Cash App, and you're good to go. Now, once you get over a few $1,000s in Bitcoin, then you want to start storing it yourself, because that's one of the big benefits of Bitcoin, is the fact that you can store it yourself. Literally, you can do what only billionaires could have done before Bitcoin, is hold your own assets without a third party. That is crucial. That is one of the base propositions of Bitcoin. We call that unconfiscatable. Nobody can take it from you. Nobody can steal it.
Yeah, that's what I want to get to.
So to do that, you would buy something called a hardware wallet. And that's like around $100, maybe 50 to $100 at the most. And that will securely store your coin for up to many tens and tens of thousands of dollars. I know people that store millions. I know companies that store millions on a Trezor, and then programmatically transfer that to other different wallets and other different devices. But that Trezor is like locked in a room that's secure. It's just this little USB device, but it's locked in a huge secure room because there's several of them storing millions of dollars on it for a company. So you can store as much as you want on it, but I recommend, once you get over 100,000, if that ever happens, definitely, because Bitcoin will appreciate. You may find yourself. I say these big numbers and they sound crazy, but you may just be surprised at what Bitcoin does over the next 10 years. So when you have like under 10,000, these little wallets are so nice and so secure, and you can back up your password on multiple other devices and store those across your house and in your car and other things like that, so that if this one device ever gets messed up or gets damaged, you still got that key that you can then buy another device from Amazon and then attach that key to it. And now you got your money back, because it's all about the keys that open up. It uses something called cryptography, and cryptography uses something called public and private keys. And these private keys, that's what you want to hold. That's what you hold and store across multiple different places. For example, I've got multiple keys stored in safety locked deposits boxes in banks, in family members across the country. So I've got stuff stored all sorts of the places. That's where you can get to if you want. But just off the top, all you need, $100 wallet, $50 to $100 wallet, and you're good. You can store that in a safe. And use all the techniques that we've used for the past 10,000 years of physical storage for that device, because you can actually physically store Bitcoin by physically storing that key, or you could store it in your mind if you really want. You could store. There's been people that walk across borders with millions of dollars in Bitcoin with the password right up there.
That's too risky, man.
I wouldn't do it.
No, it's too risky. No.
I don't recommend that.
Yeah, because what happened with that guy? He lost like how many Bitcoin, right? Because he didn't know his password or some shit.
Oh, there's been a bunch of articles on that. There's been one article that was particularly interesting on EngageNet where a guy took you through a whole story where a month-long process of trying to get back his Bitcoin. He hired a hacker to be able to help get this device and get the password correct. And after a certain amount of attempts, he finally got it, because each attempt gets bigger and bigger. So each time you misrepresent the password, it'll get longer. You can try it again only in another day. And eventually he got it to where you can only type in one password a month. Because he typed in the password so many wrong times. And so at that point he hired the hacker. And then like the first password was wrong. So he had to wait another month. And the hacker like tried to get it, but then he got it with the second one. So the hacker actually he sent the device to the person, because this person actually does this as a service. Believe it or not, there's people that help you get your coin back as a service, because there is no 800 number for Bitcoin, unfortunately.
Right.
No 800 number. So there's people that actually like you can pay for like to recover lost Bitcoin, and they usually charge about half your coin, because there's about nobody else that can do it. There's like half a dozen people that could do it on the planet, like a few dozen people.
That's crazy.
Maybe they should come together and make 1-800.
Hey, you can make a company called, you should make a company called 1-800 Bitcoin and literally help people like with their stuff, and like people would call you.
I look, you schooling me, man. I'll keep it at 100 with you, man. He'll either buy an egg McMuffin that costs $2.64 or something else that costs $2.19 based on how the market is going that day. You know what I mean?
Interesting. That's cool. That's freaking awesome, man. See, there's stock traders that like literally have their bathroom breaks timed on their schedule. Like it gets like, people get really crazy with money. I don't know. But for me personally, I just try to just do my savings every month, every week, every month, and just live pretty meanly, pretty moderately, because, Bitcoin, like I say, it's still so early. So I know that my Bitcoin still has 100x to go in the next decade, so I definitely very much, try to save that.
It's funny because you brought up Cash App. I started buying through Cash App, but I liked Cash App because when you want your money right away, when you want to trade, they give you your money right away. But the fees are too much. Like, so it depends. You know what I mean? Like I use Coinbase as well, and Cheez just put me onto Gemini, so I'm actually going to start using Gemini.
That's a good exchange. Yep. Yeah,
but what I like about Gemini, you could do this on Coinbase too, but I noticed the interest rates weren't high on Coinbase. You could take some of your Bitcoin or any crypto on there and put it on the side to earn interest in Gemini. And it's still, what I like about it is still adding up. Like if Bitcoin is going up, that little bit of money you put on the side is still going up as well and earning interest.
You discovered two of the things that the rich people do every day is they earn money off interest. That's the biggest thing, is they put the money in interest, and they earn money off the markets. And if for some reason, nobody ever teaches average people that. Nobody ever teaches the regular person that. I didn't know that until I was like 29. Like,
they don't want us to have
I didn't even start saving until I was 28 or 29 years old. So like, I was kind of thrust into, economics and finance by learning about Bitcoin. And it's just absolutely insane how many times these people 100x their money in a given day, on the things that regular people have just no idea about. Like when you hear a new company come out, like an IPO, if you ever heard of that, initial public offering, when a company goes public, that at that point, the regular investors have already 1,000x their money in the early days, from going all the way back to being a seed investor or an early angel investor, So by the time you get to the public, they're just dumping on the public. All an IPO is literally a dump on the public for all the investors that came before it. So and again, you'll never know this unless you go to college and they teach you all this crazy crap, or unless you read. I mean, obviously in the age we have today, you have to read about it. But I was fortunate enough to where I wasn't able to go to college, so I just literally went to the college of Twitter.
Yeah,
and that's what I learned.
We're all students of YouTube University.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Proud
YouTube
graduate.
universe.
But I go back
Proud
full
graduate.
time.
Yeah. I think I'm a YouTube graduate. I'm going to get my YouTube PhD.
Absolutely. It's the best way.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's free. You know, at the end of the day, there's a few commercials. Like, so what? Like, I can wait 5 seconds. You know, sometimes I might need that mental break anyway. You know, like.
Could you imagine if we had this shit when we were kids?
Oh God.
Oh my goodness.
I used to pray. I used to pray at night, like, oh my God, if you gave me a computer, God, I wouldn't even go outside no more.
You just triggered some crazy memories. I remember when I was young, like 5 or 6, 7, 8 years old, dreaming about having the internet because my friend had the internet and I had to go to the library. And I'm like, oh, to have the internet and email in my own house.
Well, you're a baby, Vortex.
Yeah.
You're a baby. He said 5, 6. I said, what? You're a baby.
I was in like high school when I first saw that.
Yeah.
I'm coming up on 40. I'm coming up on 40, so I'm doing all right.
Okay.
I didn't crack
So,
okay.
Not too bad.
Okay. You ain't that
I still got to see the
far.
other side before the internet actually.
Yeah.
came
No.
around.
Yeah. That's that. I always feel like everybody that got to get the little bit of the analog world and the digital world, like kind of it's kind of made you appreciate the digital world a lot more than if you just on right into it.
There's definitely people in the banks that kind of knew what this could become, but all of them dismissed it as a one-off, as a fluke, as they're never gonna succeed, as they're never gonna get any bigger. Just like with the internet,